the worst thing you could do as an investor is not applying enough leverage when you're buying a property.
Hey, welcome to Uncommon State of Mind, where we debate different ways for you to leverage your next investment to create time freedom, legacy impact, and generational wealth so that you can be uncommon. My name is Joey, aka Mr. J Mays.
Hey, and I'm AD, also known as AD the Fly Realtor.
Dope. So, guys, we have a topic that AD brought up to me that we've never discussed, which is easy to me.
Yeah,
because this is
kind of wild.
Yeah, it's an investment show. We talk about investments all the time, but we never really discuss whether it's best to take down a property all cash or, to use leverage. And I was like, bro, thank God you brought this up. But we have kind of conflicting ideas when it comes to that.
I mean, pretty much the worst thing you could do as an investor is not applying enough leverage when you're buying a property. That's it in a nutshell. I mean, really, because let me put it to you this way. You spend a lot of cash on the property because,
Well, hold on. Before you get into this, I see you ready.
Yeah, I'm ready because I got thoughts.
So my thought is like, I understand leverage. You know what I mean? I think that, well, at least I've seen when you put a lot of cash down for a specific property, it has a lot of benefits, especially when we're talking cash flow.
Yes, true as that may be, you do. But then what happens is, especially as a beginner investor, I don't know about a lot of you, but I know most people I've come across, especially when they're first starting out investing, they don't just have boatloads and boatloads of cash. It's not Blackstone out here, you know what I mean, buying properties.
Okay.
So what happens is you put a lot of cash into this property. Now you have no cash for anything else. You have no cash for reserves. You have no cash for upgrades. You have no cash to renovate or to improve the property. So now you're literally just stuck with that cash flow. So it's cool, but then there is another way to go about it that can be beneficial for you and allows you to still have some cash, in my opinion, and that's leverage.
Okay, so what do you mean by leverage?
So really leverage, I should have pulled up the dictionary definition, but really leverage in the sense that we're talking about is, putting down a certain amount of capital and then having somebody else, i.e. a bank or a lender, put down the rest of the capital it takes to buy that property. And what that does is, it creates payments. It creates PITI, payments, interest, taxes, and I always miss that last I. But insurance. Thank you, my man. Insurance. Yeah, clearly I don't want to pay that. But yeah, so you know what I mean? When you use leverage, that's what comes into play. You have payments for other things. But then when you're an investor, you're really a business person. And as a business person, you should be trying to apply as much leverage as possible. Stop using all your cash. Man, I'm telling you.
Look, so here's what I gotta say. I can't disagree with it. I would be an idiot to disagree. I wouldn't be credible to talk to as somebody who, is investing.
That's why I'm so shocked you're even on the other side, because you use leverage and you use it well. It's not like you got dead wrong by trying to use leverage. So please explain to me.
So let's create some hypothetical situations. Yeah, because let's just create some hypotheticals. Now, as a beginning investor, AD is 100% right. Yes. Using as much leverage as possible is the best way to get into your first investment, into any investment, honestly, and trying to keep as much cash on hand. Love it. You know what I'm saying? But let's say we're in season. You know what I'm saying? Let's say I got a couple of units on deck. Let's say I have some decent cash flow coming in. You know what I'm saying? And I'm doing pretty well for myself. I could put a pocket of money aside to put into other investments. And I have investors that don't mind, following my lead and investing.
Okay. Hold on. I see where this is going. That changes it up a little bit.
Painting the picture.
All right. Paint the picture, Picasso. Let me see the picture.
So I'm thinking I would now think about this. Now, yes, applying leverage, great. You know what I'm saying? Because you can use other people's money to take down a property and you can cash flow from that property as much as you want it. And even you can even put multiple investments down on multiple properties to get a large amount of cash flow. Now, what about the asset? You know what I'm saying? What if you just want to pay the asset off, and everything that's cash flow from that point forward outside of pity, which you probably still have to put cash aside for, right? And other small like property taxes, aside from those, payments, majority of that is pure cash flow to you. Saying, and once again, you definitely need to be making sure that you're putting pockets of cash away for rainy days. If you've ever read the book Profit First, you can see how you're able to do that and make sure that you have pockets of cash for different scenarios. But the majority of that cash flow is profit. You know what I'm saying? So there's a benefit from being like, all right, I don't mind putting a large lump sum of money down right now so that I can increase my monthly cash flow. That way you can do things, as far as how you want to live, or maybe you have other ideas on how you would want to invest that cash flow, right?
I mean, I get where you're coming from to a degree, but see, look at it this way. Let's say I'm getting my first property and I apply as much leverage as I possibly can. So whether that's 3.5%, 5%, or 0% down, because that is possible. Let's say I do that and I'm not making any money off of this property. But at the very least, because I used a smart deal finder or real estate agent, like AD, I used a very smart one. They did find a way to make sure that my property breaks even every month. So I do that. So I do still get my tax benefits. I do still get the benefit of appreciation for owning this property, but I don't have no money for my pocket. But then now what that does is I have proof of concept. So my proof of concept now allows me to go out there and get more money. Now I can use that money to start putting down more cash towards properties. But if I use all my cash to get that first property, I don't have any money for a rainy day. I don't have any money to improve the property. I don't have any money to force appreciation on that property.
So okay. So I see what you're saying, but that additional cash flow, and here's a caveat, because yes, you are right. 100%. You won't have as much money in it. And I would say that if you were going to buy a home all cash, make sure you still have cash available outside of that property to use for like a rainy day. What I would say to that. But, say you do have that, you know what I'm saying? And you bought this property all cash. Now, when it starts to cash flow, you could put a lot more money towards all those things that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You could put a lot more money towards possible damages that might come to the property. You could put a lot more money in his pocket, which is mainly what I'm talking about. So no, you're right. You're saying there's places where you're going to have a lot more cash flow in order to fund those accounts a lot faster than if you were to, do it with leverage. But yeah, it's the safe way. And to be honest, if you're starting off as an investor and you maybe have a whole bunch of cash, this is your first time investing, but you just inherited a whole bunch of cash, maybe just applying leverage might be the smartest way to do that so that you can mitigate some of those risks. But if you are already in this game and you know how the game works, shoot.
See, so I go buy this property and then I use all cash pretty much, or all my cash is gone. And then my plan is to do what Joey said. And I'm gonna take that cash flow and start putting it towards my CapEx and my reserves and my this and my that. But then the roof leak breaks in. You know what I mean? You got a leak in the roof.
Okay.
Bam, $45,000. Cash flow is $2,500 a month. What you about to do? You can't use $2,500. What are you about to tell the roofer? Like, well, I got $2,500 for you, and let me accumulate my cash flow month by month, so then I could pay you. Like, no, you're screwed. You're screwed.
If you listen to what I said, you got a pocket cash.
Right. Okay. So what I'm trying to speak to is what the average beginning investor is going to be facing. And the average beginning investor, they probably got enough cash for that asset there. You know what I mean? They probably don't have pockets and pockets.
Well, you know what? It does depend. It does depend on how much that asset costs. Because if I'm buying a house in California, it's going to cost me $500K something. If I'm buying a house in Oklahoma, that's only $58,000. That's only,
okay, you know what? So I can see where you're coming from there, because now that makes it very nuanced.
So if I'm buying a smaller property that's 70, 60, $80,000, but I know that I can cash flow from that. Like maybe if AD says debt service, you could debt service that. You're still going to be making cash flow. Or if you have other ways to leverage that property, Airbnb, then you're definitely going to be, you'll be making probably, I'm not going to say what you probably be making, but you're definitely going to be cash flowing on that property rather fast. You know what I'm saying? So it could work, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you're buying smaller properties, smaller assets that could cash flow for you quickly.
I mean, I get that to a degree, but one thing about low price properties that a lot of people don't tell you is that they tend to stay low priced. So low price properties, they don't appreciate quickly. So you look at 3, 4, 5 years down the road and you don't have a lot more cash on cash return from that, or you don't have a lot more of a return on that than if you were to use leverage it on a property that costed more. A property that costed more, the appreciation is going to counteract a lot of what you thought you were losing in the first place. Not to mention the property was covering itself, so you never really come out of pocket. And if you're not investing I don't think again, I've said this before and I'll say this forever, I don't think any beginning investor should be investing with the idea that that property is about to retire them. If you're looking for money like that, you need to increase your skills, you need to increase your work ethic, and find a way to make more money, because that's not necessarily what real estate is supposed to do, at least not from the jump. It's definitely not supposed to do that at the beginning. So I think what would be better for you is to just use leverage as much as possible, whatever it takes to get into that property, do that minimum. You know what I mean? So like I said, again, if you could get yourself a 5%, 10%, 25%, just apply the minimum amount possible. So that way you can use whatever else you need to for anything else, preferably increasing that property's appreciation.
So in this particular situation, especially the scenario that I painted, leverage can mean very different things. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because I could leverage a credit card to pay down cash for a property. It's possible I can do that. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, I'm still using leverage, but the house is paying off, and I have to pay a different type of interest.
That's cool. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. Doing something like that isn't necessarily for the financially not as strong. Yes, there we go. Novice. That's not for a novice, because anything involving a credit card, please make sure you know what you're doing. You know what I mean, and you proceed with caution. But
100%.
But yeah, that is a form of leverage.
This isn't legal advice. We're not telling you what to do with your money. Just
hell no.
We just want to have that disclaimer.
Right.
But no, you could definitely, if
Joey told me, go get a credit card and run it up and then just pay that back and I'll be straight.
Right. But that definitely is a form of leverage that you can transfer, right? So now you're not paying a mortgage per se, but you're paying interest on the credit card that could be less, which is usually less.
I love that. Yeah, that's leverage too. I mean, because even if you have investors or backers, or you go get private money, that's leverage too. You buy the property. See, this is the funny thing about buying properties cash. I think a lot of people who don't really know, they think it makes that much of a difference. And it kind of does a little bit when it comes to negotiating or trying to close on that property, because the more cash you have, the easier it will be to close. But if I'm selling a property, it really don't matter if at the end of 30 days, you used a loan to give me 1.5 million, or you used straight cash to give me 1.5 million. If I'm getting my 1.5, it comes to me as cash. Whatever is going on with you don't matter. So it's like, I think we get into this game and like, oh, cash. It's like cash was really meant to just be a negotiating tool because it will allow for a smoother escrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what a lot of people miss. It's not because it's any better than a loan for the seller. The seller don't care.
Right.
Like, and if the seller does care, there's something wrong with you. Like, you should be most concerned with if you can or close or not.
Right. That's how
really it.
And that's how, you know, people who are flipping properties, they put down cash offers, which they're actually using leverage from hard money lender. So
Exactly.
it's cash to the end buyer, right? But it's really leverage for you on the other side.
Exactly.
But so that's why I mean that it's kind of nuanced on that.
Right.
On what we're talking about here, because it could be a little confusing.
Exactly.
Like, pay all cash. You mean I'm saving up for years and I'm putting
right. And that's more so what I'm saying to not do.
Okay.
Like, don't use all of your, maybe I should have made that clear, your personal cash. Like, I don't think it's smart to use all of your personal cash. Like, if you can put down 150,000 and you still got a lot of money saved up, by all means do you, because you're doing something really dope. You know what I mean? Especially as an individual. If you could put up like large sums of money and still have a lot of money, then you're good to go. But like I said, the average beginning investor isn't popping like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? The average beginning investor probably has like, 20 to 50,000. You know what I mean? Probably somewhere in there. Really, like someone with no like real investing experience. That's probably around where you got. So if you can get into something, if you have 50,000, you could get into that property with 20. I don't see why you wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Because then what you could do at that point, you got that 30 to potentially go get another property, or you can use that 30 to improve the property you got. You know what I mean? So like, just think about it that way. Like, you have options. Don't be too stuck to any one way.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I really can't argue that. Yeah, this is a debate show, and yes, you want to paint different sides very clearly, but I'm obviously on the side of that.
Yeah.
But it's always good to make sure that the picture is painted clearly on both sides so people understand why.
Exactly. No, for real. And honestly, the best way to make sure you understand something is to argue against what you agree with. You know what I mean? Like, if you can argue the other side, now you really understand that you really know that you understand it from both points of views.
B for today, use leverage.
Right. Not for
Okay. I'm kidding.
Right.
For today.
I mean, ultimately, like, you should be most concerned about what it's going to take to close. So if it's going to take more cash to close, and you can sleep at night using a lot of cash, maybe that's what you need to do. If you can use leverage to close and it's not going to break you on the monthly payments, it might be smart to use leverage, but don't be stuck on any one way. We say that all the time. Don't stick to one route, be open to what's out there.
Yeah, so I like that. Be open to whatever possibility it's going to take to close.
Right.
Be you and be
that. There it is, guys.
Stay there.